Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show again. Up first, still the NOAA Weather Radio at Whittier, the transmitter at Whittier, still out of service till further notice. Hopefully it won't be too much longer, and we apologize for any inconveniences caused. Moving on from there to the hazardous weather graphic. Still have the dense smoke advisory out here. Looks like from the northern Koyukuk Valley eastward into the upper Yukon Valley and Yukon Flats area and the southeastern Brooks Range. That's due to end at 6 p.m. this evening, 6 p.m. Friday evening. So looks like the smoke advisories will be ended or over, at least for the moment. And from there, moving on to the fire danger map. The fire danger has really taken a hit here over the last couple of days. With all the rain that's fallen over the interior, the exception being up here over the Yukon Flats, but even there, it's gotten reduced. Still some areas of high fire danger around the Fairbanks area, even though they picked up about almost a quarter of an inch, 2/10 of an inch of precipitation today. It was really beating it back. And then over here on the, along, well, Buckland and that area here, south of or about from the Selkirk Valley, that barely makes the grade over there as far as fire danger goes. And southern Alaska, nothing. Southeast Alaska, nothing. Of course, nothing out in the west. Still have a zone up there along the eastern Arctic coast of high fire danger there, and pretty windy as well up there today with Barter Island seeing gusts to 45 miles an hour out of the east. On the satellite, we've got this frontal boundary pushing eastward here. This portion up through here back to the northwest, stalling out a little bit due to the higher pressure, upper level high up over the Arctic Ocean there, still extending down in toward the Northwest Territories. And in advance of that, there were this area right through here, saw some thunderstorms once again and strikes over the Arctic Ocean there just east of Barrow. Otherwise, nothing really firing up, just some isolated activity so far, at least by mid-afternoon here, coming over toward the eastern border and then off to the east. This frontal boundary bringing areas of light rain to south central Alaska. There's a few hundredths of an inch around Anchorage, Cook Inlet, and those areas, even less along the North Gulf Coast. Cordova at about 1/100th of an inch. And then some areas of light rain out here, precipitation, showery, cloudy skies over the southwest interior areas, though. And Nikolai, though, picked up about 1/3 of an inch of rain with this system, while Kodiak just had 1/10 of an inch. It's ended now at Kodiak. Still a chance of showers tonight over the Aleutians. Noticed in the observations this afternoon, Atka, Adak, and Shimia all had clear skies in their observations. It's breaking out there, so it's not always IFR or marginal out over the Aleutians or even the Bering Sea there with high pressure. This area here looks like it'll stay mostly to the south, at least for now, as it slides off to the east. And for the southeast coast, weak system here pushing in, and then clouds coming northward brought the heaviest rainfall amounts over the southern panhandle today, and lighter up to the north, but still Juneau picked up about 1/1300ths of an inch of precipitation in the 12-hour period ending at 3 p.m. this afternoon. And by contrast, Annette had around 1/2 an inch of precipitation there. Otherwise, again, the isolated thunderstorms having trouble getting started today, mostly from the cooler temperatures we're seeing, barely pushing 60 degrees this afternoon, mid-afternoon here for south central Alaska into the Susitna-Matanuska Valley. And although some sunshine, temperatures warmer over the upper Yukon Valley. Fort Yukon close to 80 degrees this afternoon with mid to upper 70s up in that area there. So that might be enough to start to trigger some thunderstorm activity in some of the taller clouds there. Otherwise, this low beginning to develop as the front crosses the Alaska or the Aleutian range. And so we've got a surface low developing here and the light rain and that's ended Kodiak there, getting into more of a westerly flow with some showers back to the west here, and also looks like some clearing about to move into the Pribilof Islands here, this area of clearing skies, almost into the area there, so you might see some sun here this for Friday evening or late in the afternoon. Otherwise, did see some sun, as I mentioned, here along the Aleutians, exception just cloudy skies in Alaska. And then this warm front looks like that moisture will stay to the south here, so not much change. Light winds under ridging of high pressure right along the Aleutians. North side, though, westerly flow carrying moisture in a trough. So if you do get some breaks, it'll be replaced later on tonight with clouds, chance of drizzle, and probably back to the fog and low cloud scenario there. And that'll slip on in toward the Alaska Peninsula. This low slowly moving across Kodiak Island, so keep the shower chance and mostly cloudy skies in there, anywhere over the island. Back into the southwest interior, chance of showers, mostly cloudy. Light rain at times tonight into tomorrow morning for south central Alaska, especially along the North Gulf Coast, but not looking for anything too heavy. That front really washing out now, just kind of a trough back up through there with some showers and light rain, mostly on the western Arctic coast. And winds will slowly diminish, may end altogether here, but they'll come down tonight for the Arctic coast, take a little longer over toward demarcation point, but downward trend in the winds for sure overnight tonight toward tomorrow morning. This trough keeps showers and rain, cloudy skies in over the panhandle. Taking a look at tomorrow, you can see still some isolated showers lingering over the southern southeast coast, but clearing just to your south there, but looks like periods of light rain will keep going over the northern areas there and extend back along the North Gulf Coast. You can see this low very slowly moving through, and it looks still unsettled, cloudy, and kind of damp here for Cook Inlet and Kenai Peninsula into Prince William Sound. Maybe some clearing, Madawaska-Susitna Valley in the afternoon, and then chance of thunderstorms here, Koyukuk Valley from roughly about the central interior, a little east of Tanana, back up possibly toward the Central Brooks Range. Nothing really widespread. Eagle, risk of thunderstorms into the Yukon. Otherwise, partly sunny for the North Slope, a risk of a shower along the Arctic coast, and chance of showers here over the southwest interior with some sun breaks as well, especially in the Kuskokwim Valley back up toward the Seward Peninsula. It could be mostly sunny into the Kobuk Valley as well. And also look for possible clearing again out over the Bering Sea, Pribilof, St. Lawrence Island, Aleutians again, and this time including the eastern Aleutians. You can see some sun tomorrow, and you may have a repeat of today for Adak and Atco, as this, again, that warm front is falling apart and moisture staying to your south. Outlook for Sunday, not much different. You'll probably see clouds and a return of the fog and drizzle at times here for the Aleutians as southwest flow kind of advances this trough, the leading edge of that. Lower pressure back out to the west, nothing really strong. Wind's not much of a factor at all, just probably IFR conditions. And then breaks here in the weak ridge in advance of that, and really not much going on, just mostly cloudy, maybe some clearing here in northern Bering Sea through the Strait, areas of fog possible. Partly sunny, partly to mostly maybe, with isolated showers over the western interior, all the way from Bristol Bay up to the western North Slope. And this area here probably could be a zone of significant rainfall once again of the quarter to half-inch variety from Eagle all the way down in toward the Wrangell Mountains with some possible embedded thunderstorms and moderate showers and showers over the northern panhandle and light rain with this passing weak trough over the southern panhandle. And in between you may see some sun breaks, and definitely for Kodiak Island clearing out northwest flow there, so mostly sunny there, partly sunny, isolated showers optimistically for south central Alaska and the Kenai Peninsula. Lows for tonight, 50s for the Panhandle, mid-40s Copper River Basin, mid-50s south central Alaska, mid-50s, mid to upper 50s there for the upper Yukon Valley, 45 to 50 eastern North Slope, and your highs for tomorrow kind of losing some numbers here, but into the 70s again over the upper Yukon Valley. In fact, Sunday's pretty close to what you'll see tomorrow, maybe a little cooler on Sunday, so I'll back up again. Otherwise, 60s, maybe a little warmer on the southern panhandle. And for your lows the next morning, Sunday morning, looking at upper 40s to mid 50s, not much change for the panhandle. Really no change from the Saturday morning lows here over southern Alaska. Even up in the interior, maybe a little bit cooler of the upper Yukon Valley. Mid 40s for your lows along the Arctic coast, upper 40s in the St. Lawrence Island area, Pribilofs and Macoriac. And for the highs, Sunday afternoon, near or maybe, well, about the same as what you'll see tomorrow, 65 to 70 over much of the interior, all the way back out to Kotzebue, mid-60s there. Lower to mid-60s, Bristol Bay, 65 to 71. Susitna, Matanuska Valley, maybe the Kenai Peninsula, upper 50s to near 60 there for the southeast coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
And moving into flying weather, first graphic here showing IFR near Nunivak Island, up across St. Matthew Island into the Bering Strait there, including Wales, Tin City. And then VFR here over the western interior areas back to marginal Bristol Bay, southern Kuskokwim Valley. Looks like IFR early on here for Kenai Peninsula and Cook Inlet over to the western Alaska Range. Marginal VFR along the North Gulf Coast and marginal for the Panhandle. Moving to Saturday afternoon, VFR, except for areas of smoke, reducing visibilities up in that area. Otherwise, marginal VFR, due to clouds, will be down here. Clouds, rain, and lower ceilings visibilities will be down here. Copper River Basin, central areas southward into the Gulf and Prince William Sound, Kenai Peninsula. Slowly improving, actually probably mostly marginal here along the western Alaska Range area. And then we've got some IFR here for the central Aleutians, roughly Adak Island on out to the west of Komondorskis, and some VFR breaking out for the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and the Pribilofs in the afternoon, looking VFR. Still IFR holding about in the same place here, St. Matthew Island up to the Bering Strait, and eastern Beaufort Sea coast looking VFR, as well as the Panhandle looking marginal VFR, looking for marginal VFR conditions through the entire day. And that holds through Saturday night and Sunday morning here. Marginal VFR for the southeast coast, Gulf of Alaska, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, and then looks like up across the Wrangell Mountains and the Talkeetnas, and then along and south or east of the west of the Alaska Range here. VFR in the interior, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta and the valleys up across Norton Sound to Kotzebue in the northwest coast there, including Point Hope and Cape Lisburne. Otherwise, marginal VFR for the North Slope and the Arctic coast. And we've got good, as I mentioned, VFR here for that holds into Sunday afternoon for the Pribilof. So a pretty good day coming up on Sunday there, including the, Unalaska Island, Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak VFR. Everywhere south of the Alaska Range and to the north will be VFR. Looks like the mountainous terrain here will be kind of marginal in the afternoon. VFR interior areas all the way out across Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, and just a patch of some marginal VFR there up along the Brooks Range. Otherwise, the North Slope on out to the Arctic coast looking pretty good. Passes Anatuvik and Adigan, both mostly marginal tomorrow. And for the Western Alaska Range, could be IFR early on, then it'll be marginal for the better part of the day Saturday. Same forecast for rainy. Marginal VFR, could go VFR for windy in the afternoon. And Isabel, probably marginal the entire day. And Mentasta starting out VFR and then becoming marginal later in the afternoon. Tanita, same trend, starting out VFR, becoming marginal VFR by mid-afternoon, maybe a little earlier. And for Portage, IFR becoming marginal. Chilkoot and White, mostly marginal. Freezing levels here showing this pattern, freezing levels lining up with the upper level cold trough here from the northern Bering, Russian Far East there, extending down and slowly moving eastward here. So we got 6,000 feet now encroaching in on Kodiak Island, western interior, and lost the 10,000 foot level here up over the interior areas in Canada, just 8,000 feet. And that goes down across the southeast coast and still 12,000 feet there out over the western Aleutians with 10,000 feet down to the central Aleutians. And then we've got for icing, nothing out here in the west or the western interior, an area up here of probably mixed icing, be related to the convection there, above about 8,000 feet. Some of that could be on the moderate side. And more widespread area of icing for sure here. Lightest over the southern panhandle. Could see some considerable moderates showing up right along the coastline there from Dry Bay, Yakutat over to Cape Yakataga. And of course, right across southern Prince William Sound, possibly this will be probably in the afternoon hours with some lighter icing threats up across Cook Inlet, Matanuska, Susitna Valley. And for the jet stream, upper lows here. This one tracking eastward from its position today. It'll be into the Gulf tomorrow. Another one here right off the Yukon Delta coast. Then the big one up there off the Russian coast. Otherwise, northwesterlies, 60 knots, turn a little more westerly, and then pick up to 80 knots out of the southwest for the Panhandle. And 9,000 feet showing 25-knot winds on the North Gulf Coast. For turbulence, occasional moderate chop along and on the lee side of the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians.
It's kind of hard to explain how important weather is to our job. I mean, it really affects everything we do.
In 2018, NOAA launches the GOES-S satellite, which takes its place in orbit as GOES-17. Working together with GOES-16, the two new geostationary weather satellites will provide constant watch over the United States and the Western Hemisphere, from the west coast of Africa all the way to New Zealand, helping monitor severe storms, wildfires, and daily weather patterns. Since its launch, NOAA's GOES-16 satellite has already demonstrated its critical capability for keeping our nation weather ready. Throughout the active 2017 hurricane season, GOES-16 delivered imagery with detail and clarity never achieved before, with 4 times greater resolution than previous NOAA satellites, and delivered this imagery faster than ever before, helping forecasters predict the path of a storm and where and when it will intensify. These accurate and timely forecasts allowed for emergency managers to prepare for evacuations, map flood areas, and save lives.
So the weather matters. The weather matters before the weather happens, and the weather matters after the event happens, because what we're able to do to prepare, allocate resources, provide information to the public through the media beforehand, and what we're able to do afterwards, how and when the waters are going to recede, so we know we can get vehicles with life-saving food and shelter equipment down a particular highway. All of that depends on the forecast.
In the GOES West position, GOES-17 will be able to provide critical data for the westernmost United States, Alaska, and Hawaii.
We're talking about getting data updates in just seconds, so we can quickly spot wildfires and closely monitor the wind direction and their intensity. The crispness of the data coming in at a faster rate will also help with fog forecasts. We can see the moment the strata starts to develop or when it starts to move out.
Like GOES-16, GOES-17 carries a suite of advanced instruments, including tools for sophisticated earth sensing, lightning detecting, solar imaging, and space weather monitoring. As an equal partner in the sky, GOES-17 will expand coverage of the advanced baseline imager technology across the Pacific Ocean, allowing meteorologists and local officials to see severe weather systems developing in real time.
So instead of seeing something, say, this large, that as you zoom in actually gets kind of blurry, you're actually going to see something that is much more detailed.
In its GOES West position, GOES-17 will be able to monitor conditions in the western U.S. like wildfires, coastal fog, and atmospheric rivers when storms from the Pacific dump heavy rain and snow over the western U.S. GOES-17 will have a major impact on fighting wildfires in California. Up-to-the-minute information and crisp detail allows forecasters to spot fires faster than ever before, even before the first 911 calls come in, and to better track and predict the path of large, dynamic, and dangerous fires.
It's amazing to see what we can get and at the level of detail and the speed that we can get the information down into the ground that makes our decision making way more accurate.
With a view of the Pacific Ocean, GOES-17 will also provide a critical eye over shipping lanes vital to the U.S. economy, protecting cargo and passenger vessels from dangerous ocean storms. GOES-17 will also provide a high-definition view over Alaska, resulting in better weather forecasts and improved monitoring of sea ice, wildfires, and volcanic ash. The advanced baseline imager on GOES-17 can distinguish between clouds, sea ice, and snow cover, a critical need during Alaska's dark, cloudy winter months. GOES-17's geostationary lightning mapper monitors lightning flashes, including the in-cloud lightning most prevalent in severe storms, helping forecasters determine when a storm is forming, intensifying, and becoming more dangerous. Thanks to GOES-17, emergency managers will be equipped with more accurate weather predictions and faster warnings, providing a real impact, saving lives, and protecting infrastructure. Watching over Earth from 22,300 miles above, GOES-S will provide vital data to our weather-ready nation.
Hi, I'm JPSS. I'm a high-tech weather satellite that orbits our planet. I do something called a polar orbit. I circle the Earth from North Pole to South Pole, over and over, while the Earth spins. While I do that, I get lots of information about what's going on around the globe. I watch storms, clouds, and rain. I take the temperature of the ocean, measure air quality, ozone health, and take pictures of the land and sea. This information is used for all kinds of things. It helps us take care of our coasts and oceans and all the amazing things that live there. It helps us monitor harmful weather events like floods and droughts and measure the health of the environment. Most importantly, it helps us predict weather 3 to 7 days in the future. That means I can be a big help ahead of storms, where future warnings are important. I send information to the National Weather Service. They use the information to create forecasts. The forecasts are shared with people all over the country to help prepare for weather emergencies. So you look to the sky and wave. I'll be flying by.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis. Continuing to melt. Can't tell really a whole lot of difference from what we had yesterday, but it's continuing to melt, especially here over the Beaufort Sea, and expected to move for the next 5 days or so, generally to the north and northwest. The ice flows out here, and this area is still 7 to 9/10 ice concentration here, and that's not expected to change except slowly kind of do a slow dissolve over the next week or so, but remain basically in place. And for the southeast coast wind-wise, coastal marine forecast, southwest 15, south coast seas 6 feet. Small craft advisories here along the north coast up to 25 knots with 8-foot seas. Small craft advisories northern Lynn Canal, south 25, seas 5 feet. Much lighter winds though, Stevens Passage south at 10 and 15 knots are Clarence Strait. Outlook for Sunday, south 15, central and southern inside waters of the southeast coastal areas here with 3-foot seas. Still carrying small craft advisories for northern Lynn Canal south at 25. And also on the north coast here, southwest 25 knots with 10-foot seas, 20 knots, but still 10-foot seas here as you come southward. And then things drop off. Still have a small craft advisory here in the central coast due to that 8-foot sea, but only 15-knot winds, and then southwest 10 there in toward Prince of Wales Island. Prince William Sound tomorrow, east winds 25. That's good for a small craft advisory. There are seas at about 6 feet. Southeast 25, 6-foot seas for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Lighter and north at 15 here for the western coast and the Barren Islands. Small craft advisories, west 25, seas 7 feet, northwest 20, Kamishak Bay, and light winds north to northeast at 10 for Cook Inlet. And then 10 to 15 knots from the southwest here for Cook Inlet with the 15-knot winds south of the Forelands, west 15, Kamishak Bay, across the Barren Islands, and in across the western North Gulf Coast. Seas running 4 to 6 feet in those areas. Northwest 15 there for the eastern North Gulf Coast, 7-foot seas, and back down to 10 knots or Prince William Sound from the west. Kodiak Island, west winds, 25 knots, seas 5 to 8 feet. And Sitkinak to Castle Cape, west at 20 with 6-foot seas. West 15 there in Bristol Bay. Same thing here from Cape Sarachef to Castle Cape on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula. Bering Sea side, southwesterlies 20 knots with 6-foot seas. And those turn west, 20 knots here for the peninsula on Sunday, 6 to 7 foot seas. Also west at 20 for Bristol Bay, west 20 here up towards Sitkinak. East side of Kodiak, west winds 20 knots, pretty uniform here in these areas. 6 foot seas, 15 knots out of the west for Shelikof Strait. Western Aleutians, west of Adak, southeast 15 knots all the way out to Shimianatu with seas 3 to 4 feet, not too bad. South to southeast 15 knots with 4 to 5 foot seas for the Adak-Atka area. And a little breezier here for the Fox Islands, west-southwest at 20 with seas running 5 to 7 feet. And then for the Sunday outlook, south to southeast 15 to 20 for the eastern Aleutians, south to southeast 15 for the central areas, and then southeast 20 out in the western zone. Southwest coast, southwest winds at 10 tomorrow, south 10 for St. Lawrence Island, southwest 10 for St. Matthew Island, but 20 knots out of the southwest with 7 foot seas for St. Paul and St. George. And then for Sunday, bring it down to 15 there for the Pribilofs with southwest 20 for St. Matthew Island and west-southwest of 15 here along the southwest coast, and light 15-knot winds there for St. Lawrence Island. And for the area from Wales all the way up to Cape Beaufort, south winds 15 knots, 4 to 5 foot seas. Lighter westerlies here on the west side are variable with seas, I think they still got 5 feet there. And then brisk wind, or small craft ice is gone, not small craft advisories for the central coast, and then 30-knot winds. So small craft advisories central all the way to demarcation point stays windy, seas 12 to 14 feet. Much lighter winds though coming up for Sunday, east 15 on the eastern coast, south 15 here on the west side, and just 10 knots in between. Tonight again, slow-moving system will keep it damp and unsettled here across the North Gulf Coast, south central Alaska. Probably through tomorrow. Look for some maybe afternoon clearings to sit in the Matanuska Valley. Rain over the northern panhandle, light rain at times, isolated showers at the south. Not too bad in the interior, maybe some scattered thunderstorms. And then for Sunday, a little bit better here from Eagle southward into the Wrangell Mountains. That'll probably be the heaviest precipitation in the state.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.